YouTube. My name is Goudarzian. I'm one of Inspo Create's YouTube channel hosts. I want to introduce you to someone very special today. Her name is Jessi Duley. She is the founder of Burn Cycle. She is also making a huge impact in the community nationwide. Her story is very, very compelling. I want to introduce you to her, so let's go meet her. Jessi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, you have a phenomenal story. You founded Burn Cycle, but you are also leaving a huge impact in other areas too, with some of your speaking and your story. You have a very interesting story, and we'll get into that. But the Inspo Create team wanted to hear about the story, and so I'm really glad you're here today. I want to hear about Burn Cycle. Tell me about how it started. Tell us about
Yes, I will. So I'll go back a little bit because Burn Cycle is actually my chapter 2. So I graduated from college and moved right down to LA and got into production and did that whole thing. Had a whole previous career before Burn Cycle. I always like to say that because I feel like a lot of people shoot out of college and they're like, I have to know exactly what I'm supposed to do, and I'm supposed to dedicate myself to this, but I'm all about chapters. And so
phase 1, phase 2.
Yeah, yes. I'm going to be a social, like the social planner at a retirement home, like chapter 7. That's what I'll be. On maybe a cruise director one chapter. But anyways, I was living in LA and I was doing production and had sort of, I call it my quarter life crisis. I needed the world to sort of like flip me upside down, shake the hell out of me so it could flip me back over and I could have some clarity, and I sold everything I owned.
Your snow globe moment.
My snow globe moment, yeah.
I watched your stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's like, you need those every now and again. You know, you just need the dust to settle so you can see, and I knew I wasn't going to do it in LA, and so I sold everything and I bought a ticket to India and then Nepal, and I just trekked and I moved, and there, at that time there was no Facebook, there was no nothing, and also you don't get reception in the Himalayas, so it's not like something that you need to worry about. But it was amazing to sort of clear away all these, pressures and responsibilities and societal needs that I had put on myself, and to come back. And I moved back home to Portland, and I just sort of started over, and I got back into production there. But the wonderful thing about Portland is that it's mild. Everybody here is mild. The weather is mild and the people are nice. And I couldn't find a workout that would melt my face off. I was like, okay, there's got to be something intense.
Because you're high energy, and I love it because I am too. And you need
very high energy,
that intense outlet.
I'm like, yeah. Like it's like the sun comes up, and I'm like, yes, it's daytime. Let's do this.
I love it.
And so I had, when I was living, in LA and traveling to New York and doing all this stuff, and I watched the evolution of spin with Soul Cycle and Flywheel. Right, a little false bravado. I was like, I can do that better. And by virtue of where we are in our backyard, I was able to work with people at Nike and just surround myself with people far smarter than I am, and we were able to kind of put together a business plan very quickly. I moved very quickly. Everything about me moves quickly. And
this all happened. What year was this?
This is 2012.
Okay.
And so, and then in January of 2013, we had a space, and I also found out I was pregnant. And I was like, well, can't really say no to either of these, so here we go. And I gave birth to my first daughter, and then like right before it was all going down, I was like texting my this woman who was helping me, and I was like, all right, hit print on the flyers, at least we know the baby's here, so we know the opening date. And it was just, I think it was one of the best experiences. Well, first of all, I would never recommend anyone doing that. Just don't ever do that unless you're as crazy as I am. However, what I think it did was create one of the most invaluable experiences I could have ever had, because I had zero confidence as a business owner and zero confidence as a parent. And while I'm human, I was also humiliated because I was 55 or something pounds heavier than I'd ever been in my life, and I couldn't actually even do the workout. So I couldn't even physically do it because I just had this baby and I'm trying to sell it, and it just, you don't feel like you're doing anything right because you don't know how to do business, and you think everything has to be perfect. And then parenting, you're like, oh my God, this human, they just gave it to me and I'm supposed to keep it alive, and like everybody's crying and I'm crying.
The confidence,
there's just nothing.
You start to second guess yourself in every area.
So much self-doubt, and then the workout, the the intensity of it, the room is completely dark, the door is shut, there's no phones, and you just have to do the work. Like, you can't
It's like tunnel vision.
You can't, you can, create the drama and the narrative and all you want, but I think, Burn Cycle taught me that I could do hard things. It's not about a size, and it wasn't about the extra pounds, whatever. What it really taught me was that I could do hard things. And so you start in the back, and then you move to the middle row, and then you move over to the side, and then the front row, and then you're like, I'm gonna make eye contact with the instructor, I'm doing this. And then I finally taught, but I think it also gave me tremendous perspective into how someone coming into the studio might feel, because spinning in and of itself is really intense, and starting exercise is really intense, and I think a lot of people in the fitness industry have been lucky enough to be very fit their whole lives, and they love it, and so then they parlay that into a career, and it totally changed my perception around why we were doing what we were doing, because what I gained from that space had nothing to do with a scale or the way that I looked. It was all about confidence and community and feeling connected to the humans and this collective energy, and just, it was like humanity and hope and inspiration and all these things, and I was like, what the? More humans need this. And so
and I want to go back to the confidence piece, because it's funny meeting you. I'm like, you had issues with confidence. Are you kidding me? So it's funny.
Still,
but that's another thing, is like, women, we see women at the heights of their career. Yeah, they made this CC, they founded this company. Yeah. I have 10 locations now. We don't really highlight the grit portion. We show everything presented beautifully, and look at where we are in the peak of our careers. But I want to hear about where you found your confidence. What would you say to someone who, if you were to speak to yourself at that first phase, what advice would you give yourself?
You just got to do it. And I think that what people forget is that the comfort zone was created by you. Mm-hmm. And so it can expand if you're willing to do it. And the more times that you try something and it doesn't go well, the more times you do it and it doesn't not go well. It's like, you just gotta keep trying. It's like these little baby steps, and you do it, and then you're like, but the world's not ending.
Failure.
Hold on. Yeah. And also, like, for every one failure, you have 7 wins. But of course, we as women are like, oh, I could have done better, And so it's just like these little baby steps of just doing it. And I think that you build a muscle. And also, everybody forgets everything in like a day, right? It's the internet. It's the age of just, we have the entire conversation of the human race in our back pocket at any moment. Like, nobody's actually paying attention to you that closely. They're all just worried about themselves, right? And so that took me, I'm in year 7 now, and that took me 7 years to realize that, like, if you make a mistake, people are going to forgive and they're going to forget. I think, so.
And also the entrepreneurial side. Of course, like everyone, they face these criticisms when they're talking about their vision. They're talking about this thing they want to accomplish.
Yeah.
Does that still happen? Like, where you're at now at the I want to say peak of your career, but I know there's still more you want to do.
Man, yeah. I'm gonna be a winery owner, I think, one day. But anyways.
But talk to me about, do you still face those criticisms, whether it's from your peers or family? 100%.
Yeah. I think in the beginning, people will absolutely tell you, because they want to protect you. Right. And so for us, they were like, why would you do that? Soul Cycle and Flywheel and, the other number of local studios that already existed. And I was like, because I think I'm going to do it differently, and I think I'm going to do it better. And I think if you have a vision that just like keeps you up at night, and it's like, if the fear of not doing it has gotten you to the point where that is stronger than the fear of actually doing it, you have to take the steps. And I think, there's I still face criticism because we've done really wonderful things, like donate a portion of our proceeds from the very get-go. We do a lot for the community that we don't charge for. We do a lot of this stuff, so from certain business-minded people, I get criticisms from that, and then we get there's always criticism. There's always.
And now being on social media, it's like there's always that somebody to say something.
There's always somebody that doesn't agree with you. But it's also like, we're in a polarizing time right now, and you can't please everybody. And if you're trying to please everybody, you're just going to be like watered down milk. Like, why would you even want a diluted version that's trying to please everybody? And so, you kind of just have to know your values and wrap your arms around those and decide if those are important enough to walk in, and then lead by example and walk the walk, and you'll do it. So you'll be a good human.
So you have 3 kids now.
I have 107 kids. I have 162 kids. After 2, you're just like, yeah, whatever. Yes, and I had them every time. It was like basically every time we would open a studio, I would just have another baby, and
I love it though, because I think a lot of moms are watching, a lot of young women too that haven't started families, but even I'm speaking off of a biasness.
Yeah.
I'm 27. I'm in my late 20s, and I'm kind of getting to the point like, okay, I do really value my career, and there's all these things I want to accomplish, but I want to be a mom too. I do want to start a family. Talk to me about those pressures and how the heck you did it.
I mean, I guess for me, I got a little bit lucky in that I didn't really have a choice, because I made the choice to start the business, and we were trying, but it wasn't like happening. We were just like,
everyone's different.
And everybody's different. So you're like, well, we'll just try. And then you're like, it worked. The thing that we did, turns out science class was right. And now, so I didn't even really have the choice. But prior to that, I had been like, I don't want to have kids till I'm 35, because I was going to be an executive producer, and I was going to do this. Mm-hmm. And then, I met my husband, and I met my husband the day after I had gotten back from my lady walkabout. So I met him in a dive bar, and I was like, I'm super liberated as a woman. I do not need you.
I just traveled the world.
I just traveled the world. I'm like a dialed. I don't need you. And then we like made out for hours because but
that's how it happened.
It happened. I feel very, I talked a bit to him in the bar because he was wearing a suit. I'm like, what are you, a sports agent? Like, what are we doing here? And anyways, and then it was, love. But I think that finding the right partner is huge, because I don't think there's I see a lot of women, they come to Burn Cycle and they're looking for partners, or I see a lot of women and they come to the studio and they've settled it, but finding a partner that is going to support the fact that you want to have your own life and your own identity and your own dreams, and that, because unfortunately, even though we're super empowered as women, there are still dynamics in the 21st century between men and women.
And that was the landscape for how long? Of course, it is changing. It is changing, but
it's going to take a while. But to have a person who's like, I'm going to be a co-parent, I'm going to do this, I want to support you. Right? While you have a career, I feel that helped in getting to the point where that and like 100 hot toddies helped. Just to make the decision of like, I can have a career and have a family, because little by little you can kind of break down those walls that have been built for women via society and everything that we've ever seen and read, that I'm going to have to do all the housework, I'm going to have to care for the children, I'm going to have to run ops on my family, I'm going to and do
run
all
ops. I love that. Run ops.
Oh my husband.
I am the operations manager.
We literally did that. We did it.
So
we systemized our marriage. So he's an entrepreneur as well, so we're just insane. Our lives are insane. And so we sat down and we're like, we are co-founders of the Duleys. You are better with the people. My output is very high. So I'm going to run ops. So you're going to be the CEO. So you're in charge of the people, and I do all the logistics. So I do all the dishes and the laundry and like the meal planning and that. And then he just handles the brushing of the teeth in the morning and getting him out the door, and then in the night and the bedtimes. And anyone that has kids knows that's like, you're like, I love you so much, but just eat your food. Why don't you want to eat your food? And so that's his job. And so it's like, we've systemized
compliance officer.
Yeah, exactly. I did this post for social media one time that was like, CEO of the Duleys. It involves uniforms. I was like, crisis management. Necessary. Anyway, blah blah blah. But I think it's. I think it's possible. I think that if you're gonna do it though, to just make sure that you have a partner that is willing to step up to the plate. Because that's if that foundation breaks at all, then the rest of the dream breaks too. So anyways.
And piggybacking that, is your husband associated with Burn Cycle, or is that
no, I ask him all the time. I'm like, John Duley, we're very formal in the Duley house, like, he just rolls off the tongue. I'm like, John Duley, why don't you want to come to Burn Cycle? And he's always like, just what I want, another hour of my wife yelling at me. And I was like, touche, bro. That was a good one. I get it. I get it. Fair enough. Clean the garage. No, so he's not. He has a whole other company. He's in sleep technologies.
Okay.
Totally his own thing. So yeah,
Interesting.
she's down there, but yeah. And yeah.
What's your vision for Burn Cycle? What are you trying to achieve this year? Is it growth? Is it maybe a feature technology? What is it?
I think well we scaled so quickly. We opened 5 studios in 5 years. We grew over 500%. I mean even more than that. I don't even know. And in the same 5 years, I had 3 kids. And you know, I think what I learned is that better is, or more is not always better.
Right.
And that for me, and like just me, I'm not somebody that wants 100 studios. I want to go very deep with the 4 studios, Burn Cycles that we have. And
I like that.
Breadth isn't what I want, it's depth. I want to, you know, regain the distance that happens between my employees and clients when we scale that quickly. And you know, the Pacific Northwest is my home and where I want to make an impact in my little corner of the earth. And so what we want is centers of excellence, because the boutique fitness industry is actually really young. It's only 10 years old, so nobody knows what they're doing. Like, there are not best practices out there. There are not.
Right. There's no like gold standards because it's only been so much.
No, it's only so much time, and most places, you know, 1 to 2 studios, but then it exploded. And now you have these places with 4 and 5, and people are like, what do we do? And we have offered, you know, like I said, we've donated a portion of our profits from the very beginning. We offer full comprehensive health insurance for our employees. We do IRA matching for every single employee, even if they're front desk people. We have continued education. There's
which
just
isn't a common in your type
no,
of.
and for not a small business, but because we've built it into our model since the beginning. Because my father was also an entrepreneur. He's 69 years old. And he's just starting his 7th company, so like it's like I did my best being an employee, but it wasn't in the books. And but he always said you got to build the people that build the company, and I think that's what Burn Cycle has always done. Like I say we started Burn Cycle, but it's just my name on the paperwork, but it was always a collective, like these humans that have come together, and so we think that, you know, our goal is to be centers of excellence and be role models in the industry and really walk the walk and show people how they can take care of all these credible humans that are giving life back to these people that are, you know, getting pounded by the daily grind, and and do it right and do it with a sense of compassion and you know, collective community that starts in the company, not just outward facing to the clients. So transparency. You know, what the clients gain from us. We also want anybody that works at Burn Cycle to feel that special and connected, and so that's our goal. So we do have some other stuff, technology and things like that we're deploying that we're very excited about. But yeah, it's really just centers of excellence.
So you know, there are a lot of female entrepreneurs that are within our audience and watching. What would you say to a female entrepreneur?
I think that one of the things that I learned over time, yes, it's very hard for us to get financing. You know, yes, we have our own challenges of being the only one in the room. But I think I have yet to have met a female entrepreneur that is like, I'm going to get rich. I'm here to do this. I think a lot of women start companies because they see a need. They want to solve something. Like, I think whether you're a mother or not, there is an innate sense of maternal, how can I collectively help people that is in every single woman that's out there. And so I think a challenge that we have is when you come in to start a company, you bring these amazing soft skills of compassion, of empathy, of you know, depth, of emotional intelligence. And we, as sort of, you know, business-minded women, have lacked a lot of hard skills, and that's a gross generalization. I just know that that's what led to a ton of imposter syndrome for me. And so being able to go in and throw down a P&L and be like, well, this is this, and here's where our margins are. I'm like, care as long as everybody feels taken care of. But over the last 7 years, I've built up sort of a financial fortitude and understanding of what strategy is, and actually, like, you know, pillars of leadership and what that looks like. And actually, I feel like updated my resume, for lack of a better term, with like hard skills that you can, you know, that have, you know, you can measure. And I think that if women can gain those skills, because we've already got the heart, we've already got the passion, and nobody works harder than them. I'm sorry, they just like, we're already bearing the, you know, we're gonna be the ones that have to change the world because we have to. It's just gonna be our lot in life, and so there's no test at all of you can't do what you want to do. But I think, man, you could be 5 steps ahead if you can develop these harder skills, which I know sounds really technical and tactical and almost granular, but
it's integrating. It's
integrating
that's all
it all.
it is.
And it's like, I know we've got like we all have vision. We have these. None of that is ever going to be questioned. But and so I've always just surrounded myself with people far smarter than me so that I could learn from them and develop those skills. And so,
do you have any mantras that you live by? Any quotes that you know have always resonated with you?
Yes, I have 3 that I live by, and I feel like it's like one is one day, one is the next day, one is the other. But yes, the first one is it's not the load that'll break you; it's how you're carrying it. And that, it's just, I have no doubt in my mind that I can do all the work. Any woman can do the work. But if you're doing it, if you're trying to run a family and run a company and do all of this, and you're doing it with 10 pounds of resentment on your back, or, a need is not being met, that you need validation or recognition or whatever it is, it's going to make it, 10 times worse. It's not the load that'll break you, it's how you're carrying it. And so I think that always reminds me to when things go awry is, all right, what do I need right now? What need is not being met? And I don't necessarily want to say the term self-care because people always think bubble baths or, pedicures or whatever. But what is it that you need? Is it recognition from your partner? Is it a break? Is it whatever it is? I think there are these things that you can go back to get the needle back to north and move through it.
And you don't have to have it figured out right then and there, but just having that awareness and knowing, okay, I need to find my tools to tap into. I need my outlets because I'm going 150 miles an hour. I've got a family at home, and I'm like whatever your job is, or you're running a company. You need to have those outlets to tap into.
And you forget to have fun. You forget as an adult that you're allowed to have fun. You're like, I got all this to do, and you're like, oh god, I don't even know how to access my joy right now, or my happiness, and so you got to figure out what those things that recharge you and make you feel good, and then you can check on. And then sort of piggyback onto that one is my mom is fighting her second bout of ovarian cancer right now. She crossed the first one, metastatic on all major organs, totally slated. Unfortunately, it's an aggressive cancer, so it came back. But I was sort of ranting and raving and doing whatever about how stressed out I was, and we started to have a conversation, and she said, "You need to drop the struggle." And I was like, this is
drop the struggle.
This is humbling, okay? As she's like, getting chemo and it's bald, and just was like, right. And she was like, you just need to drop the struggle. This is the life that you've chosen. And it's very similar to this, not my previous quote, but she and then my dad comes in, who is like the classic dad, wears his cell phone on his belt, prices like everything at Costco, and is like, oh no, what are you gonna do? Oh, I have to brush my teeth today. Oh my god, I have to brush my teeth every day. Oh my god, I have to brush my teeth twice a day, every day for the rest of my life. Oh, how am I gonna fit that in? Oh, I'm so anxious, I'm so stressed out. And I was like,
it's a team effort.
I was like, I'm getting schooled right now. This guy's wearing like Kirkland brand shoes. My mom's wearing Chico's. They're like classic parents, and you're like, okay, drop.
That's right. Yeah,
drop the struggle.
They brought you back to planet Earth.
Yeah, because you just go and you spin, and you're in these loops, and it's like, how do you pick up the needle off the record? It's just like, oh, my life, and you're like, I mean, there are absolutely horrible situations and stressful situations, but can we just, let's just do the work and push through it? And how much more clarity do you have if you take out that constant narrative of how hard we have it? So it's that's it. And then the third one is always, hands down, and this is proven true in every aspect, every situation in my life, that you are a product of your surroundings. So always a product of your surroundings, and I take that to heart. And the older I get, the smaller my table gets.
And your people, your environment.
Man, I just cannot be around people that are not inspiring me. And I think it takes a lot of personal responsibility to self-study and to see your blind spots. And there's a lot of people out there that don't do that, and you don't realize as a woman how much of other people you take on until
especially if you're a fixer. Naturally.
When you want to fix things, or you're worried, or you need people. Like every woman I know is like, oh, I just want people to like me, but I don't want to say that. And you're like, it's fine. We're all human. Of course, we want people to like us. but that person's never gonna like you. And so that's a hard realization, but you know, man, I can feel it. And actually my daughter, we just had like a relationship that turned into a situationship with my daughter, and we were parenting out of convenience, just letting her play with the neighbor kids, and it's like the trillion pounds of mom guilt are clicking in right now, and we thought we had this difficult kid, and then we pick her up, move her into these different activities, change her environment, and she's like a different kid. She's like a happy kid. She's joyful. She helps at home, and I was like, I'm sorry that I kept you in a toxic environment for so long.
But you know,
but like it's so.
But let's talk about the failure. That's
oh
the
my
failure.
god! Yeah, and it's cool. You're like, I'm making your future better. But just also to have something that tangible to see in a kid that they are truly a product of their surroundings, and you're like, noted, remembering, putting this into play. Yes. Okay, so those are my 3 big things. So
I wanna, and I know we're finishing up, but and I have brought this up in a previous interview, but I think it's so important, especially, you know, even for women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, but young women as well. Self-talk.
oh man,
You must have the most incredible.
so nonstop.
But positive. And motivating. And I know you're not perfect, but
I mean,
you've accomplished so much. I can't imagine.
You know, I think
that voice is like.
But I think the voice in my head is a lot of the people that are around me.
Okay.
And so
going back to the
products, you know, I'm very lucky, and I had entrepreneurial parents that are on their 7th company, and so when I went to start a company, I didn't think it was going to be what Instagram says it is. I knew it was going to be 5:30 a.m., 10 p.m. I knew it was going to be hard work, but I think, you know, a lot of it's small victories. It's taking the time to celebrate these small wins, and I think a lot of my self-talk previously. Let me think about the best way to actually talk about self-talk, because
it is it's a
you go through phases. You go through phases of self-talk, and I, in total transparency, in 2017, at the end of 2017, I had a total mental breakdown. I had just opened my first Seattle studio. I had a baby, my 3rd baby, and then in the next 6 months, we opened 3 studios in 8 months right after having a baby, and just what that does to your sanity and what that does to your capacity.
It's almost like you have to preemptively be like, I'm gonna have a meltdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a total mental breakdown, and that was rough, and I was even suicidal because, and it's not like you actually want to, when you're in a really negative mental health space. For me, it wasn't like, when I say suicidal, I don't want to die. You just want the suffering to stop, because you are feeling this pressure and these burdens that are so big you can't possibly tackle it, and you don't even know where to start. And
a lot of women, you know, whether, you know, your situation, but in different situations, but living in the pain and not knowing if it's going to change.
Never, and you wake up every day and you're like, how do I do this? And you're just this hollow shell of a human. And then the realization that my self-talk was so bad, I had to go get somebody else, and outside people to come in and again help me see my blind spots, because all I'm saying is the same thing over and over again. You can't do this. You're a failure. You've let everybody down. You're a shit mom. You're this. You're that. You've bitten off more than you can chew. You built this up in your mind. You can't do it.
Since then.
So much. And it's like, again, it's probably a little bit of my temperament. I'll just do anything. Like, I'm a great person to go to Vegas with, because I'll be like, yeah, let's do that. Oh, we might get arrested? Okay, so, but that's because I just would put myself out there over and over again, and it built up this muscle of being willing to try things, and so...
and it's going back to that you can only carry...
I've fallen on my face a lot, and so a lot of the just do it, you're fine, self-talk comes from that muscle, but then there are times where it's just like, it's gonna ebb and flow, and to recognize when you do need outside help and know that there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I was in therapy twice a week for a whole year, and I am like, just wear it like a badge of honor.
And you should. I mean, we're in this day and age
with that. And
I think it's important to pinpoint that. Now you know if you were ever to experience that again, it's temporary. Having that mindset of, okay, this isn't the rest of my life. We're gonna work through this. I think that message is important. That this is temporary. The pain that I'm in.
And you
I may be
you can't see it until you're in it. Like, you know, when you're in it, but
Right,
I
right,
think the what you do learn then too from, you know, my dad has amazing quotes, and one of the ones he talks about is like turbulence, and how turbulence always happens before like a breakthrough. And so you know, you kind of rattle, and then when you get to the other side of something like a mental breakdown, or even just where you find yourself in this constant negative feedback loop, if you have the wherewithal to recognize that that's not healthy, and that you suddenly make it a part of your daily practice to pay attention to self-study what you are actually saying to yourself, all of a sudden your perspective gets a little bit bigger, and you start to respond to yourself instead of react to yourself. And so I think the first step is self-awareness, and I cannot believe how many people are just moving through the world with like, it's your fault, yeah, or like, and you're like, we can fix this, you guys, we can do this, like.
And that's why I think it's important to tell your story.
Yes.
That's why we were so happy to have you
thanks.
here. Yes.
Oh, you stop it. Anyways, this is fun.
Thank you so much for coming out. Is there anything else that you want to say? Any last?
No, but
Burn Cycle.
Oh.
Follow Burn Cycle. Follow the movement.
Yes. Yeah. Let's do it. You can find us at www.burn-cycle.com.
Perfect.
Find us on the gram. We're at Burn Cycle PDX, at Burn Cycle SEA. I'm on the gram. I'm at Mrs. Duley.
Awesome.
I answer all my
active.
DMs.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you want to start a company, hit me up, because more women need to do this.
Perfect.
We're going to be the one to move the needle.
Great. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
It was so great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys, this is Jessi Duley, founder of Burn Cycle. Again, thank you for coming and joining us today. We'll see you next time.